Siamo live. Ciao Mattia, come stai? Obviously, we're gonna do this stream in English, but for all my Italian friends, buongiorno, buongiorno,
Buongiorno, buongiorno.
buongiorno.
Hi. Ciao Camilla.
Ciao Mattia, come stai? Um,
Bene, bene.
I've had a few streams where I had, well, Julia, who you met, we had an Italian English stream not so long ago. It was really fun. I'm actually
Yes.
thinking of starting like an Italian series because there's so many of us in crypto. We're all like hidden everywhere, but the Italian community is popping.
It's good to see. Good
Yeah.
to see, 100%.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we even started. We tried to revive it or like activate it in Dubai, but that group just never survived.
Never, 100%.
No, I did
Italians
not.
all over the world, right? So they travel around and they mix. So it's difficult to get them together.
I know, but a good plate of pasta, a good I don't know, like a good Italian night. It's always you. Maybe we should organize one soon. What's up, EDK G Mood? How's everyone doing? Good to see you. So today, obviously, like a very special episode. We have Mattia here, who's a dear friend and is running one of the hottest crypto VCs. But you guys don't only invest in crypto; you've also been investing in tech and AI. And I wanted to have you on because there's obviously a lot of different narratives that are playing out. The direction in which the market is going has taken a complete shift. Only a few months ago, I think, like as of like last year, we were talking about the 4-year cycle being over. There was like a big debate around that. And it seems like entering this year, especially when we look at who's present at conferences, who's shutting down, the industry is taking really a turn that is quite clear in a sense. We're going very institutional, going after capital money. We're going gambling, prediction markets. ADK, the topic is we're talking about VC and investing. But moreover, I really wanted to get your perspective, Mattia, on like where we at in the market, like what's still hot here, because there's always opportunities. I don't think like crypto's over. Obviously, we've had a bit of a tough, like a really tough month for DeFi.
Yeah.
But you guys keep investing. You keep deploying capital into companies. So there's still opportunities out there. And I really wanted to dig into that. Before we do, I do have to announce, let me find my soundboard. Where is it? This is we did a little rebrand. Mattia, you're the first person to come on my stream with this new. Yeah, we just redesigned the whole thing. We have some tickers. We've got the logos at the bottom, like a new fresh design. I'm so excited to do it. So you're the first one to see it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
yes.
Really cool. I don't know if you can see, like there's obviously like crypto tickers, but I also just picked some of my favorite companies. So we added...
Amazing.
I don't know if you can
Definitely recognize some of them. Yes.
Yeah, we have those. So before we get started, I just want to hear your story because obviously I know like you've been in crypto for quite some time, coming close to like 10 years since you left Blackrock and enjoy crypto full time. Can you give us a little like background story on why did you leave, finance to join crypto? Like what was the turning point to be like, okay, I'm going to go all in? Because back then people were still a bit on the fence, hesitating. Like you had the 100% believers, and then obviously TradFi was still not so convinced in some way. So like what was the turning point back then? I want to hear the origin story.
100%. So basically, Eterna Capital was born in 2018. And as you mentioned, I was at Blackrock in the London office. And I was part of a corporate strategy team. But also there was a research forum internally at Blackrock. Back even in 2016, 17, that was already studying, digital assets and crypto. So for them, it was already a thing. They were already looking at how the industry was playing and evolving. And I've been always passionate about finance and tech together. So I joined the team, joined like the research group. And, I was surprised, but there was a lot of people from the senior management involved as well. And, at the time it was IOTA, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple at the very early stage. And when we had a look at the space in general, I think there were a lot of things that kind of made me realize, okay, this is going to be like very interesting for the future, and the kind of size opportunities what happened today. And for me personally, I think the one of the most important parts were understanding that the role of capital potentially could change in the future. So just to give you a small example, today you receive your salary, and then in 2 days you spend into Netflix, and then 4 days you go into the supermarket, whatever. But like the concept of capital is stuck basically. While with crypto and blockchains, capital is flowing. So the velocity and basically the concept of capital changes from being static in silos to being running as a flow. And this was like a common kind of concept that the senior management also was kind of pushing. And for me, this was really okay, this is something here, and it's extremely interesting and potentially radically changing the way we think about the financial services. And then I was very lucky to meet my co-founders, Nassim and Asim, and we basically decided to quit and launch Eterna Capital as a way to enter the space and provide access to our investors in the space. Yeah.
That's such a crazy leap, and that you definitely saw something early, and you jump for it. I feel like it's always a risk, right? Like it's a crazy risk that you take, and then it turned out to be obviously correct. I just have one thing. Like there's like a sound issue when you speak. Can you try to like disconnect and reconnect your earpods? I think it's like
Yeah, of course.
I think it's the earpods. Let's try.
Do you hear me better now?
Yeah, I think it's good. It was just like glitching a bit, but I could still hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, no. It sounds like it's better. Do you feel like is it, like obviously we've seen a lot of VCs or like spawn out around the in the last few years. Obviously like larger ones, smaller ones, like a lot of small VCs. Like do you think it's become harder? It seems like especially within this market also like VCs need to raise as well, and this is something that a lot of people maybe just forget or don't know, is that you guys also rely not just on your own like capital, but you also need to go and raise, and a lot of time like bigger VCs have their own capital formation team and so on. Like do you think it's become harder and more competitive amongst you, because you're as a VC obviously you're competing with others as well, right, for investments and so on? Like you're also building up your own brand. Has it become harder for VCs in this space right now, especially in crypto VCs?
Yeah, I think so for sure. It's become harder to raise, but there are several reasons. I think the market and mostly the crypto VCs market has evolved a lot, and with the market itself. So if you think about it, at the beginning, crypto VCs and VCs in general, like looking at the space, they were investing into deep infra projects, and then exit path was TGE. So everyone was like, okay, TGE investing, and that model still works, of course. But I think what we saw in the last couple of years is that the market became way more focused on the fundamentals, and rightly so. So basically, the market is now focused on revenue, on value perceived, and if a lot of protocols, provide like no value in terms of perspective, in terms of how it's perceived from other players, you see what happens, right? So basically, a lot of protocols have been crashed, and in the recent couple of years, and with that, a lot of VCs also unfortunately crashed, and they weren't able to raise capital anymore. Alongside this, I would say that I think every investor that thinks that crypto is in silos, like by itself, is probably going to become redundant, because not now more than ever, we see crypto as being like simply part of the tech stack. So basically, crypto, AI, fintech, it's all together. And institutional investors like our LPs or family offices, or like they basically see now crypto as, okay, I have my allocation in venture capital, 10% of my portfolio, and I invest in tech X%, and crypto is part of it. So this basically pushed out some of the VCs that were too much just very narrowed focus on a specific vertical within crypto even. Yeah.
So do you think like meme coin, we're not going to see a meme coin cycle again? That narrative like over crashed and burned. Because some VCs
No,
were
that
also
that's
investing in. I mean, we know
yeah.
very well that like some VCs were investing in meme coins as well.
Yeah, no, you don't. Actually, you're speaking with a fan of the whole meme coin kind of, sector, if you want. And for me, my view is, I think a lot of people that were looking for the quick bucks overnight, then kind of ended up at the end in meme coins, but not for any negative reasons, but because when crypto was born, there was the ICO boom, and then the DeFi boom, and then NFT boom, and then finally the kind of meme coin boom. And maybe meme coins have found and attracted and somehow capitalized on this kind of FOMO element, or basically willing of people to make quick bucks overnight. And I think that's also one of the reasons why some of the protocols that were trying to attract let's call it the retail
Started adopting
non-sophisticated,
these
non-institutional
tactics.
users. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Um,
So yeah,
can we try to remove your earpods? I don't know why. Like I can still hear
maybe I'll
the.
remove them.
Yeah, just try to remove
Let me see.
the. I think that's gonna fix it. It's honestly AirPods have been giving me like so many issues. I think this is better. This is definitely gonna be better. I mean, I personally liked meme coins, like the whole concept of capitalizing on trends, and it was fun. Like it lasted. It seems like that has shifted to prediction markets. Like crypto is still that gambling aspect of it is not being taken out. I just think like smaller projects, we're just not going to be seeing smaller projects or occasional founders, especially at the end of the day, like especially now where you can just build an app with anything, with like with Claude Code. Like there's just going to be so much more need for substance and real distribution and real user, like you say. What are the things that, like, obviously in the bull markets you go on hype, anything that's hot, you just like spray and pray, and you just go for what's hot, and obviously invest in the teams. Like what are the things that you guys are looking at specifically when you're investing in projects, especially this year, that maybe was a little bit different than the years before? Oh no, now I can't hear anymore. Oh my God. 1 second. Can you try to change the sound output?
Yeah. Do you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Yes, perfect. Now it's good.
Okay,
It's
amazing.
fixed.
So
Perfect.
yeah, perfect. Okay. No, I was saying that I think now what we saw clearly is that it's the product guy moment. So now it's like the product people coming with an idea that is okay, tech is there, crypto is there, blockchain works, is scaled, like somehow, with like some, you can pick whatever chain you want, whatever, but like the tech is there. And so now it's like the founders that are coming now on board are very strong, I have to say. And they're coming even in these conditions. If you think about it, founders that are coming now in the, if you want to call it like more bear market of the early stage opportunities, let's call it this way, are usually on average very strong. While in the past, obviously, there were a lot of founders that, were just kind of trying to make it, trying to, with an idea to see if they will just get funding, basically. So I think this is one aspect for sure. And the competition is, of course, higher as well. And sometimes, we find the founders launching the, 20th, 30th perps decks.
Yeah, there's so many
in
of
one
those.
specific, yeah, and then we ask them, look, guys, maybe what's the valuation, and they come up with the first valuation of 20, 30 million. I'm like, look, there are teams out there that have been doing that for like 3-4 years, already like at 20, 30, 40, 50 million FDV. So it's difficult to justify such a valuation for a new project unless there is some super high signal, basically. So yeah.
I'm curious about that because I know that you guys just invested in a crypto card. Now,
Yeah.
just to challenge that thought, right? Like there's a lot out there. Like crypto cards aren't something new. There's been quite a lot. Like every wallet, I mean, a lot of like companies are deploying their crypto cards. Let me bring up the screen. I'm just gonna show it to you guys. What there, perfect. So I saw the announcement. Where is it? Here. You guys invested in Moto.
Yeah.
What makes them special? Because obviously there's quite a lot of crypto cards right now, right?
Yes.
Obviously the market for consumer, consumer products is like it's massive. It's not saturated at all. But I was curious, like what made you decide to like go for this team and invest in them? Also knowing that there's quite a lot of like cards in that sense, like what made them like so special?
Yeah, 100%. So as you're saying, like there are a lot of cards out there, but the majority of these cards are either debit cards, right, or crypto cards that are usually like crypto loans, credit cards. And so effectively, Moto is gonna be the first crypto credit card with a real credit involved. And so that changes the entire perspective. And the most interesting aspect of it is that by leveraging on-chain finance capital efficiencies, they will be able, and they're aiming to basically providing the best possible reward system for any card. So I've been, for example, a beta tester now for the card for the last month. I've been impressed with the progress made by the team and how it works. It's a Visa Infinite card. You have lounge access all around the world, and I've been having 5% cash back on the purchases. It's pretty good. And obviously, it's a pre-seed startup, so a lot still to build. The team is really amazing. Shimon and Ramses, they were previously at Squads in the Solana ecosystem, and yeah, we've been very happy and obviously impressed with how they're approaching the topic, basically. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah. I mean, there's yeah, the whole honestly like the whole perks. I feel like especially for these kind of like consumer products these days, you need to I mean, it's getting tougher for teams, right? Like it's no longer you cannot no longer survive on partner, cross marketing campaigns and
Yeah.
like partnerships within other ecosystems or your own. Like you have to go out of crypto. Like people have, needs and want to live a normal life, and at the end of the day, they want to be able to use crypto without thinking they're using it also outside of their just, their laptop, like not in a complicated sort of like DeFi platform. Like nobody wants to do this anymore. If it's too complicated, it doesn't work. So I'm definitely excited. I think we're at that stage where, the infrastructure is there. Ultimately, crypto's been built for payments. We're coming very close to just fast transactions, borderless transaction with low fees. It's definitely happening. So any product like this that then gives you value, right? Like for real people, is definitely something that, I mean, personally, it's just fun to use, right? Max is saying, so a
Yeah.
lot of people say they look at the founder. Wait, let me read this. So a lot of people say they look at the founder or the person and see if they want to invest in an idea based on the person rather than the product. What traits do you look for in a founder?
Yeah. That's a bit of a $1 million question because a lot of founders are all different. But what I would say, at least based on our own experience with like the investments that we made and the most successful ones. So the right founder is a person that somehow solved the execution that in his head or her head. So basically, when you speak to the founder, he's very like confident and in the way that he's expressing how he's gonna do it. That's the most important thing. Despite if you have good sales skills or not, usually like these kind of founders have also good, very very good sales skills. But the pitch itself and the way founders speak and present idea is very fluent and very simple. Sometimes founders don't understand that when you speak with a VC, you you have to be you have like half an hour basically as a first impression to make, right? And you have to be very high level, simple. That's my idea. And then pull a bit the VC into your court to ask more questions and make them curious. And some founders also like everyone has their own set of ammos, okay, being like something they're particularly proud of. And sometimes the mistake they make is that they all shoot the same the ammos at the beginning, okay? While the most successful founders actually they keep them and they shoot them at the right time. That's also another very important trait to have. You start with something, you make someone curious, and then when people make more questions, then you're like, okay, now I shoot this as well, and you basically maintain the pitch and the interest very high. And the reason why I'm saying this is
It's a game of
because when
seduction,
you
right? At the end of the day, it's a game.
yeah, it's almost like a dating,
Yeah,
it's
right.
almost like a seduction, basically.
Speed dating.
And we see exactly. And so the reason why I'm saying this is because similarly to how a founder approaches a VC, they would approach a potential client. So, for example, if you're not able to tell me very simply what you're doing, I doubt that you're going to be able to do it in front of like a very, a potential client that you're going to use your product and has also half an hour to decide whether or not he wants another call or not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because like if you can't, and I mean, we've seen this like so many times, like having, like also having to like vouch and sort of like vet clients and work with different teams, like very super early stage, startups. And the thing is like, it's not just that. I think it goes even further, right? Like if you cannot explain what you're doing, if you don't know what your company actually does and what's the goal, and you're just building because you're building and it's a bull market, or at least like last year's was this, like how are you going to hire? How are you going to explain people what their role is? How are you going to be able to organize your company in a way that makes sense? How are you going to be telling your marketing team how to market the project? How are you going to be telling your sales team? Like as a leader, you need to be able to communicate. And I think this is something that it's kind of silly if you think about it, but like people really underestimate the fact that there's so many founders that don't even know how to explain what their product is. Like, does it actually solve a real problem, or is it like an imaginary problem that you're trying to solve, right? Like
100%. And I think that's the difference between having a great R&D project and there are many out there, versus having a product that can sell. And you have some of the smartest founders that we met, or smartest people that we met, but then it's very hard to find also someone that is not only smart but also able to kind of convey the message to the potential market where they want to sell to. So it's very hard. And usually people that do that are the people that can translate that into very clear and clean high level communication. Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously, if you have the sort of like archetype of a CTO, they're much more technical, much more introverted. They're not necessarily going to be a great public speakers. Obviously, this is like the stereotype, as opposed to having a more CEO, person in the team. They will be able to sell, but they might not necessarily know the tech better. Like what's obviously where you guys also invest in AI, right? Like it's like the tech is just booming right now. Like what advice would you give to a CTO, or like our CTO that are introverted, just like, are they just going to lose to better extroverted people, or like where are we at right now? Like what's happening? Like imagine you have like a great developer, great CTO, but he just can't pitch.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't even say maybe going to introverted versus extroverted, but it's more like you have also to kind of self-assess yourself and being it's a mix of being humble but also realistic on what you can do well and what you need the help for, or you need a complementary person for. And that's why a lot of the time maybe some people who are very technical realize I want actually a CEO or someone that are a head of BD, or someone that is very good at pitching the idea and convey the message I was speaking about before.
And so I think it's also a question of being like, really, real with yourself, and what you can do well and what cannot. And there's nothing wrong with it, absolutely. Like we saw founders which were great. They were, fantastic CTOs. And but then, these founders realized, okay, I need a CEO that can, develop the business, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough in the beginning, right? Because especially, if you're a great CTO, you're great at product, like you might think that you can do this by yourself, but as you scale, like to really scale a business, everything needs to be working together. You cannot just avoid the speaking and the selling part, and it does take, more than that. But yeah, I think like finding a co-founder is also a really tough it's a really tough, like endeavor. And what's the stat again? It's like 99% of startups fail because of the team. That's
Yeah, it's probably true, 100%. Yeah, well, look, it's undoubtedly true that basically having two people, for example, two co-founders that really work together for 10 years kind of has some kind of advantage, because the model is already there, the machine is working, it's proven in the past. And at the same, so what I'm saying is, yes, people who haven't worked together for a long time, maybe they have a slightly higher level of risk compared to people who did, but it doesn't, it mean that us or other VCs wouldn't consider it at all. Actually, there were some very, at some point, when people are very smart, they also realize that if they are aligned with the vision and the strategy, they go together and they do it, and they are incentivized by the same outcome at the end, which is a success, basically. So yeah, it's not easy at the beginning. And the other thing I would say is that one of the things that VCs note a lot, and for example, us ourselves as well, we try always to put co-founders together in the calls, because we want to see the dynamic between the founders. And a lot of the time, you would be surprised how many times there are some dynamics which we don't really understand, and we try to dig deeper to understand exactly who does what, or like, the responsibilities and stuff, and they didn't think about it. And the role of a VC is simply to stress test the idea as much as possible, right? To see how the machine is solid, basically. And sometimes also founders kind of hope that VCs somehow are going to help them on this, but that's one of the only things VC are going to be, not be able to help them as wish that they could, because it's effectively speaking about the relationship between the founders themselves. Yeah.
But some VCs do offer like different approaches. Let's say like they might help you develop your ecosystem and so on, or like have a certain like not the theme, but they might have different services or perks that they offer to their like portfolio companies. Like how does one, like what's the best way for a founder to like pick the VCs that they want to approach? Obviously, let's say they want to raise in like for the US market and so on. Like obviously it's very like regional dependent, but like let's say they want to raise in the US, like what's the best way for them to like just go? And even if let's say they don't have any connections, like how does one go from no connection to VC intro?
Yeah. I think you framed it well, because probably the most important point is probably being referred by someone that knows how you work. Okay. And unless you join some of the, the best incubators out there, like Y Combinator and others, where there is someone that kind of screened you already or is kind of vouching for you somehow. And the reason is because obviously VC is very risky, and every VC has to follow their own internal processes to, de-risk basically, and diversify their investments. And one of the ways is obviously when there is a founder or two founders that have been referred or vouched by someone that you trust. So how to get there if you're really starting from zero with just an idea? There are different ways. First, we ourselves also, but a lot of VCs also do desktop research. So Twitter is one way. Commenting with something very meaningful and very value add in hot topics always attracts the eyes of VCs. Every VC now, I think, have their own agents that scrap for like interesting things happening around the internet and Twitter and in
Oh,
particular.
interesting.
So that's one.
So having a
Yeah, that's
personal
one.
brand is still hot in 2026. Like having a Twitter,
Yeah, for sure.
investing in that is important. Pretty sick.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as long as you are obviously creating value add and you're not just repeating something for the sake of it, or
Yeah,
know.
reposting
And then
or shit posting.
exactly, 100%.
Yeah.
We see a lot of that as well. So that's one way when you have no content. Otherwise, the other way is obviously joining conferences. That's probably the most useful, I would say, because everyone still kind of like the the human kind of element. And so joining conferences such as DevCon, Consensus, and all the others. And I think that helps because every VC is at conferences. And so basically you will end up finding VCs there. And it's easier way also to get in touch and tell them what you're building. Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, there's definitely, I mean, obviously there's less people going to conferences these years, and we're seeing definitely a size of like, attendees like shrinking, but the IRL value is really important. I guess if you have to screen someone at the end of the day, like spending time with them, there's something that is hard to recreate when you're having a call like on Meets or Zoom or whatever you're using, but like you can't really fake it at the end of the day if you're in real life, unless you're really good at it. I think it's really hard to keep up, especially if you're having that like in-person meeting, like, and you get one shot, right? Because then you really have to like introduce yourself. You have to think of what you're gonna say, your manners. There's so much more at stake, but then you also increase your chances of having a good experience and so on. So what conferences are you guys doing this year, by the way?
Well, we did Denver, we did DAS, we're doing Consensus in Miami. And then, I've always been a big fan of Stanford Blockchain Week. Let's see if they do it this year. And then let's see DevCon after the summer. I think these are probably some of the ones. And then probably Token 2049 in Singapore. So we are, I think every VC kind of has always one or two people in every kind of more important venue. Yeah.
Do you think it's worth it for like founders? Like, say you're great, you have great ideas and you can build things. Like, do you think it's still worth it for founders to create crypto startups, or do they have a better chance in going into the AI market?
No, that's a very good question. I think 100% is still worth. The model still works, and it's we see like now crypto becoming, as I said earlier, part of the everyday kind of tech stack. Okay, and it's not anymore an industry by itself. The difference now is that we haven't seen personally like an infrastructure project in the last probably year or two, like meaning a lot of infra has been built and it's out there, and it means that as a founder, if you're thinking about a new infra piece, you need to be think very, very well before coming out with an idea. Also, the VC world is like very like, it's like there is a lot of gossip, and it's very small at the end. And so if someone is raising something, it is very likely that a lot of VCs know about it, and then they share themselves the tech and they speak about it. And that's also why the industry is also very collaborative to a degree. Yes, there is competition, but to be honest, there are not many VCs out there that are quite that are so kind of focused in the sector. And so basically we all tend to collaborate quite a lot together when there are deals that we want someone to look at. And so founders really need to think well, but absolutely there is a lot of opportunities in space. Yeah.
Which means that timing is important, right? Like if you start approaching one VC, don't think that's going to be an isolated case. Like everybody's going to know about it if you have like a bad meeting. Is that like...
Unfortunately, yes.
Like...
I mean, the best thing is to be honest, and it can happen, but every VC, it's not the first impression is not the only impression, right? Obviously VCs do their own research, they ask around, but it is important to come up to VCs only when you really believe you have everything in place. And the mistake I think that a lot of founders do is hoping that if you go out to VCs hoping that the VC will somehow understand what you're doing and being your, don't worry, I understand what you're doing, I will I don't know how to express in the best way possible this, but basically how to extrapolate the idea from you. Okay, if you believe that, it means that you're not able to vehicle the idea, as I was mentioning before. So you're not yet at the stage of getting VC funding. So VCs really want someone that is clear and they know and they have the plan to make it happen. If you go around with like, okay, maybe the VC will understand and will explain better what I want to do, then it's
not
and you
gonna
will be
work.
surprised, but like 90% is like this. 90% of projects are people who are trying basically, and only a very small cut are those who really want to make it. That's a difference that VC feel. Yeah.
What's the multiplier that you guys are after when you invest in projects?
Multiplier mean like percentage of the ones that we screen versus the
No,
one
as
we
in like in
invest.
terms of like return. Do you have like
Well,
a number?
yeah. Well, every VC tries to go for like the at the very early stage. At least on paper, everything has to make sense of like several tens of multiples basically. If you invest in a project that, for example, tells, if I had to invest in a project that tells me, okay, my total market is 1 billion, I'm probably
Oh my god,
small,
that's like
because,
me and Mega East. I remember when I asked you. Oh my god.
so basically you're saying
Oh
to
my
me
god.
that the max you can grow is 1 billion.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, for us a VC, it doesn't make sense because you have to also get an account in the risks and all these things. So maybe you can get a percentage of the market. So yeah.
What do you think of Mega East? Because like, remember we spoke, right? I told you like we got in the plebs round.
Yeah.
They still haven't launched. Oh, I don't think we're gonna see that money ever again. Oh my god. Yeah, what do you think of these like launches that are still yet to happen? Like, do you have any ideas on like Mega East? Like, what's your view on it?
Look, we are not investors, so we don't have like let's say a specific thesis on Mega Eat, but I know the team, and it's great people behind, very smart engineers, and so I hope that everything is gonna go very well, also for you. For
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Bullish. Super
Exactly,
bullish.
100%.
What's your like most spectacular and like best investment you guys have made throughout the whole history of the fund? I know you were in Kraken. You've had some like pretty big names in as portfolio companies in there.
I think probably without mentioning numbers and stuff, but like of the ones that we exited, probably Algorand was the best. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Talking about infra, actually, what's your point of view? Obviously, the whole hack with Kelp and Layer Zero like happened. Like these were pretty solid infra projects, right? That were kind of holding our space or our our industry together in some kind of way. What's your view on that? Is DeFi over? Because I mean, even before that, we were looking at like Aave, and like the yield you're getting is not that interesting anymore. Like you can even like deposit money in the bank. I think Dubai banks have better better opportunities in a way, like especially now with what's happening. Like how do you see DeFi evolving? Is it over? Are we done? Is that like the bottom for crypto DeFi, or are you gonna survive this?
No, look, I think maybe also just to put into the Cat DAO and Layer Zero kind of hack, to put it into context, I think this has been one of the most sophisticated attacks ever. Like not even in crypto,
Insane,
like ever.
insane.
Like, it was really an insane attack. And thinking that there are countries where they have like 24/7 massive teams of people just doing that is also like something to consider. And what I found interesting, just to to kind of amplify the context, is that in the last 2 weeks, there have been very sophisticated attacks, not only in DeFi or crypto, but also outside. And,
with
I
Vercel
don't know
being
if
targeted as well.
Yes, exactly. And so my personal take is that probably some AI agents, I'm not speaking Mythos or others, but like the same way Anthropic is doing great progress with Mythos and others, very similarly, there are uncensored models which are open source, and some of these countries probably they're doing like a lot of advancements and are using these to probably create some of these attacks. So what I'm looking forward to is to have like a very sophisticated level of protection in place for all these protocols, of course. And having said that, I don't think at all that DeFi is dead or anything. It demonstrated what you can do. It works. I think it's evolving like the market. So, tomorrow maybe there is like a new protocol doing like some very exciting things, and effectively with RWAs coming and, all the traditional finance coming in, we are going to see like a very interesting yield opportunities there as well. Also, I think when you speak yield, you also have to see that in let's say in the context of your portfolio. So basically you're like, okay, I want to have exposure in loans versus credit versus whatever. And after that, then you look at what DeFi offers and all these things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep in mind, especially if you're starting up as a founder. You are more than ever going to have to invest in, auditing, good security. Like a lot of your team needs to be really solid, because it's kind of crazy out there and so on. Like speaking about AI, actually, like you guys are also obviously not pivoting, but like you guys are also investing in AI startups. Like what's the kind of startups that you're looking for? Like what's the profile of these companies that are hot right now?
Yeah, I think there are some topics that are very hot within, let's say they will overlap within AI and crypto somehow, but for sure it's payments. And my personal take is, for example, the X402, the protocol that Coinbase kind of launched / proposed last year. That's one of the most important things that I think the market is not really appreciating yet. And that's one very, very important part, because no one really knows yet how agents are going to be kind of paying / accessing services among each other, and also among like services like travel bookings and stuff. And so that's one very, very important and complex part that we're looking at. And the second part is everything related to multi-agent interaction, and that includes identity. That includes like for example, you have your own agents doing something on your behalf, and you want your agent to buy something that requires the person buying being older than 18 years old. So how do you buy it? How do you tell your agent that can it share your passport to everyone? Maybe you don't want that. And so maybe there is going to be an identity clearing house that with ZK or something that is going to be basically giving like the go-to to the agent to do it. So there are many, many kind of open questions at the moment, and very exciting topics around the multi-agent interaction. Yeah.
Right, because at the end of the day, and actually, funny enough, I moderated the panel at the Wallet Connect event in Cannes, and we had like Stacks, Circle, Atomic Labs, and so on, and obviously Wallet Connect, and that was like the main point of discussion is, yes, you obviously were almost there in terms of like infrastructure, and it seems like this is where crypto was always meant to be, right? Just like fast payments. But we're not 100% there yet, in a way. Like there's still a lot of things that need to resolve. Also, again, like security. One mistake, could cost you, is irreversible. Like say you're sending, you're just, for some reason, you're just going to send all of what's in your wallet. If, you just wanted to buy an Apple or something, or ordering something on Amazon, and then suddenly you end up paying. Obviously, these websites will not necessarily allow you this, but let's say agent to agent, or again, like you get hacked, is that's going to be a little bit, risky in a sense, especially. I feel like until we have figured out how to make it seamless, it's safe. There might be a bit of time before we do that. But I mean, the dead internet theory is going to become more real than ever. Like,
Yes, for sure. Another example, if you think about it, is like, every person is not going to have just one agent. Even now, to be honest, maybe there are people who already have like tens of agents, 100,000 agents, swarms, And so what if I want my agents to collaborate with your agents, how they can trust each other. It would be nice if they can, trust each other despite where they come from, meaning they come from OpenAI or Claude or whatever, And so, finding somehow the way in which agents can, interact with each other is going to be a big topic, because at the moment there are many teams that are discussing the best way to approach it. And also, okay, let's assume that we know how the agents communicate to each other. How can they do things together? And one beautiful approach that we saw, for example, the other day, was this company which is building a kind of shared smart contract with agents. So basically, my agent can say, I don't trust you, I don't trust your agent, and but we all trust the blockchain and smart contracts. So the two agents can decide on the code to build together in the smart contract. And then once they agree that the code is fine for them, then the smart contract is created. They check the code, and once the code is checked and minted on the blockchain, then basically they can interact. So I think that we are seeing some very, very interesting and cool solutions for these things, but we are still very early. No one knows really yet.
Are NFTs coming back as like agentic identity, proof of identity? Are we ever going to see a actual use case other than just speculation for? Because this is something that even back in the days, I mean, the whole putting identities on chain, etc., but it just never happened. Like, we've never actually seen governments just implement that.
Yeah.
Like, is this something that are NFTs completely dead, or are we still going to be using that tech?
No, for sure. It's actually, I think there are some companies that are using them at scale now in terms of like certified one-to-one ownership of something. And as you're saying, like with agents, it's very, very easy to create like a certification of by agent. I am this agent doing this, authorized to do this, that, and NFTs can play a role that for sure. So yeah, they're not dead, 100%. As a tech, they're not dead.
Oh my god. Yeah, that it's definitely something that I do think about it sometimes, and so like it's like we've gone through all that cycle, and then things just, I mean, they won't disappear, but they might evolve, and like the proper use cases will come through. Let's see. I am glad I'm not trading NFTs anymore. Honestly, that thing it's a thing of the past for me. Like, I've moved on. What are the hottest companies for you right now? Like, just in general, like in terms of like AI companies that you see, that even like smaller ones, even the most obvious ones, maybe like Anthropic, or like what's like the hottest, like your favorite companies right now?
Well, I'm a big fan of Anthropic, for I guess obvious reasons. I'm a big fan of Cursor, Mistral in terms of AI, but also like in terms of crypto. To be honest, I've always been a big fan of BitTensor. We are not investors, so I'm not kind of pushing for any kind of investment or anything. And to be honest, in our portfolio, I'm a big fan of Blue Sky. It's a kind of decentralized social network. We now have more than 45 million users, and
I will bring it up.
doing great things. And I think that could pose a very big kind of landscape for the agentic community to play a big role there. Yes.
So what did they do exactly? Blue Sky?
So Blue Sky is a decentralized social network where every user can decide. It's very similar to X. Okay, in fact, it was built within Twitter, and then when Elon took over Twitter, basically they decided to spin off and create like a for-profit organization. And within Twitter, it was like a non-profit. And so there are, Jay is a great founder, and she was responsible for the project within Twitter, and now she basically she then became the person responsible for it, and it grew from like 2 to 3 million users to now more than 45 million. And the great things about it is that basically the power is not centralized, and every user can literally have their own server where their own data is installed. And so if one day I want to close my account, I close my server, and no one knows anything about me or my users or stuff. And at the same time, I can easily have the same users that are following me on TikTok and Blue Sky, or like any kind of equivalent applications based on the AT protocol, which is the decentralized protocol Blue Sky is basing their tech on.
Okay, it's like, how does one, I'm trying to see, how does one sign up on the app? Do you know, by any chance? I'm on the website and it's
100%. So there is an app in the App Store.
it's like a proper
store.
Okay, I see. Mobile.
Yes.
Yeah, it says here mobile application, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay, sick. I know we only have a couple of minutes left because you before you have to hop off. I just want to close off by hearing your predictions for this year. What are you bullish on? How do you see the year play out?
Yeah, I think probably as a summary of what I was saying before, very bullish on stable coins and payments in general, agentic payments, very, very bullish. I'm bullish on tokenized securities. I think probably this year we are going to start to see institutions, tokenizing securities, and anything related to multi-agent interaction, the X402 I mentioned before, and many other ways in which we can make sure that the identity of agents, and obviously as a result the identity of people, is preserved and basically is made secure. So I think these are some of the hottest things that we are seeing at the moment, and I'm personally excited of.
Okay, sick. Well, thank you so much for coming. This was like really interesting. I feel like we touch upon like a lot of different topics, from just the behind the scenes of what it's like to run a VC, what you guys are looking for, how our industry is changing as well, but also affecting the type of profiles that are relevant and are important right now, and especially that will have more chance of like seeking and getting funding. It definitely seems like we are becoming a little bit more mature, and a lot of it has been washed out. There's less fluff. There's less space for fluff. There's no money for fluff anymore. I would say like people just there's none of that. So I'm definitely excited. I mean, we're still here, still excited for this new era of our industry. It's been a crazy ride along the years, but interesting to see where we've gone. So thanks for all your insights, and I will see you soon. And thanks for everybody
thanks so much for hosting.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for everybody that tuned in, and we will see you what day is it today? Next Monday at the same time, so 5 p.m. Dubai, 9:30 p.m. EST. Oh my god. Thank you, Mattia. Ciao, buona serata. Bye, everyone.
Bye,
everyone. Bye, everyone.